皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Shogo's podcast. So today, I like to talk a little bit about the biggest lesson that I learned through training in various traditional culture, Japanese traditional culture. It's actually the same lesson that I've learned, and I've talked about this a few times in the past, I believe briefly, but I wanted to make a separate independent podcast just to talk about it. And I don't want to keep you guys waiting, so I want to jump right to the conclusion first. But the biggest lesson that I learned through training in Japanese traditional culture is that everything is about subtracting. Everything is about subtracting. Now, no matter what I trained in the past, it could be Yaido, it could be tea ceremony, it could be no theater training, it could be anything. All of my masters, regardless of their age, their gender, all of my instructors taught me one thing in common. It is to always relax and loosen up. Now, I'm the kind of person who really, I guess, always wants to be perfect, what I'm trying to say is, you probably understand what I mean, right? I don't want to make mistakes. And I think a lot of people are like that, but especially because I grew up in an environment where my grandfather made a company, my father became the next president, I was his first son. I was basically supposed to be the next president of their company. And of course, I'm not doing that, so I rejected that. But for a long time since I was small, I was taught to be worthy enough for the family, for the company. And if I don't act good, if I don't get good grades, I would be considered useless. Basically that's what literally my father used to tell me. So for a really long time in my life, I always thought I need to be this perfect figure, this is obviously impossible. So whenever it was, like, for example, a timing came that is really important, like an exam or like a performance or something, being on stage or stuff like that, or a speech, I thought I need to be perfect. I can't make any mistakes, So I would always be really, really tense and dense and have a lot of power on my shoulders and everything, So whenever I trained in traditional culture, because I respect the culture very much and respect my senseis and so on and so forth, I tend to be really, really stiff, and dense. But every time my senseis was telling me, Shogo, what loosen up a little bit, just relax and do it. And for a really long time, I didn't understand what that meant. Because in my mind, I always thought that doing something seriously is about putting more power in your shoulders and your arms and your body, and getting all stiff. And I thought that was what, doing something seriously was about. But through all of my training, I was finally able to find out that when what you're training to do, you would think when you start to learn something, when you start to train something, you feel like you're building up something within you, right? You're gaining more muscles or gaining more of something, gaining more skills or experience. Well, you are gaining more skills and experience, but what should I say? I bet you understand what I'm trying to say here, but you feel like you're putting more of armor on yourself, invisible armor of skills and power, But when you continue to train, especially I believe Japanese traditional culture, I believe Aikido will be one of the most representative arts for this, but it's literally, I think Kendo is really close to this too. Well, I guess all of it, Yaido is too, so I guess all of it will be included, but it's all about loosening up and letting go. It's not about you gaining more muscles and power. The reason why even there are people in their 80s, even in their 90s, who are able to fight in, for example, Kendo games, Yaido games sometimes, is not because they've gained a lot of muscles through their training, it's because they're able to do it with their bones, we say. In the end, the ultimate goal is to be able to swing your sword with your bones, is what we're taught in Yaido and Kendo, actually. So, at least what I was taught, yeah. So, it's actually more about letting go and not relying on your muscles and power to do things. Yeah. So it's so interesting that it's almost like from the moment you start training something, it's a lesson of you to let go and not to gain something extra or new. And this was absolutely the biggest lesson that I learned through Japanese traditional culture, training in Japanese traditional culture. And the reason why it's so important is because it can be applied for everything else in life too. And I came to realize the reason why I love training in Zen, studying about Zen philosophies, is because Zen is exactly this. Zen is exactly about letting go, about releasing yourself, about being relaxed and just being yourself and not trying to be someone else by putting so much force in your mind, in your body, but more of just relaxing, and letting the flow do it for you. And I was definitely afraid for a long time, letting the flow do it for you. Are you sure? Like if I don't do anything, nothing's gonna happen, right? Kind of thing. If you want a change to happen, you need to put more power into it, effort into it, energy into it. And that is what you would believe would give you results, right? But no, whenever I relax and get rid of all the I don't want to make a mistake, I want to do better. Whenever I get rid of all of my pride, all of my unneeded emotions, basically feelings, that is the moment when I can swing the katana the fastest, cut the mats the most cleanest, the best matcha that I can make, the best singing that I can do, are all the moments when my mind is completely blank and I'm not thinking anything. I'm not trying to do better. I'm just doing it, That is the moment when my music is the most beautiful. And although it's not beautiful at all, still. But, it's the best of what I can do. So I really feel that even though, of course, as I talk about in a lot of my videos, we're facing a lot of social problems. In Japanese traditional culture, fundamentally, there's a lot of problems, like all of the, the seniors, the people, the elderly are having so much power, they're never willing to let go of it, and being aged is more important than actual skills and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of problems in Japanese traditional culture too. So, of course, I do want to change these things. But the reason I was finally able to find out the reason why I was so drawn to Japanese traditional culture in the first place, it was these ideas of Zen that I want to spread more, because relaxing and letting go is something that anyone can do. Now, anyone can do, but it's difficult, right? That's the reason why we need to train to do it. And I thought this is so interesting because everything else outside in our world tells us to be better, to be having more power, having more money, having more fame, The world tells us that. And we think inside our minds that the people who have more is better. But what's beautiful about Japanese traditional culture, and I believe many other cultures are outside of Japan too, but it teaches us that it's better that we have less. And having less, although it takes training, is so much easier in the end than having more. Yeah, because everyone can do it. Not everyone can have more, depending on the circumstances, right, of your life. You might not be able to be as tall as everyone else, not have physical strength as everyone else, not have the mental strength like everyone else. But letting go is something that everyone can do, right? So I believe this is the beauty of Japanese traditional culture that I want to preserve, and tell more people about, And of course, I think that 80% of Japanese traditional culture needs to be changed, to be honest, as a person training in it. But about the 20% that I want to preserve exactly the way it is this aspect. So again, as a conclusion, the biggest lesson I learned through training in various traditional culture is that everything is about subtraction, and that everyone, it's wabi-sabi, perfectness. Everyone can be perfect if we start letting go. So then everyone, I always say at the end of my podcast, the ultimate goal of my life is to make all Japan lovers' dreams come true. So I know that there is a lot of people outside of Japan studying Japanese and willing to come to Japan to work or travel or even train in our traditional culture as we've been talking about today. However, I am very afraid that Japan will not be able to make everyone's dreams come true in the future because we are facing a lot of social problems. We are losing our traditional culture because of all the problems I mentioned earlier, and also the younger generations who are supposed to be carrying on the good things about Japan are dying because of all the social issues being shoved against them. So I want to dedicate my life to try to make Japan a better place. I want to try to solve the social problems. I want to evolve and preserve and evolve these two aspects of this is really important: traditional culture, and also help out the younger generations so you can have a brighter future. And to do that, my second step, I need to change the way I say this. What should I say? Not my second step. My nearest goal, my closest step. I guess I can say my second step. I guess, yeah. Maybe. You can let me know in the comments if there's a different way of saying it. I mean, like, always saying the second step sounds a little bit weird for me, I guess. Well, anyways, the second step is to achieve 2 million subscribers by January 2023 on my main channel. So your likes and comments help to boost my videos. New viewers who have never seen my channel before, it'd be great if you could help me out. And on my third and fourth steps, as I mentioned in my new video, is about starting a new business of selling merchandise related to Japanese traditional culture, and also starting a stage performances and linking all of these profits to helping out the younger generations in Japan. Alright, so it'd be great if you could help me out, guys. Thank you so much for all your support, and I'll talk to you again soon. Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you so much for listening.